So my name is Mansa Bilal Mark King, and we are today interviewing Minister Abdul Rahman, the Rock of the South, as he is known, Minister of the Nation of Islam. This is an oral history, and today's date is January 25th,
6 or 7.
January 26th, 2013, and the topic is African American Muslims in Atlanta. The first question, actually, I'd like to ask you, Minister, and you've answered this off camera, so I'll just ask you on camera for the record, but when did you first come to Atlanta and why?
Well, can't say I came to Atlanta because I was born and reared here. But I was like most young men that grew up in my time. We ran the South was what those old South that the people hated. So I ran to New York City, Connecticut. But I ended up back here after I left New York. I went to Detroit in '53, went to New York in '54. '55 I came back to Atlanta. And this is when I first had my first engagement with the religion of Islam. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was spreading his temples throughout America at the time. He sent a man here named James. His name was James Shabazz. He was an ex-piano player out of Boston, and he had converted to the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And he began to start the teachings here in Atlanta. So first time I heard it, I believed it because it made sense. You know, he said God had promised Abraham that his seed would be a stranger in a land that's not theirs. And they would serve a people for 400 years. And after that time, God told Abraham he would come. So this time it was 1955, which really was 400 years. 400 years because Honorable Elijah Muhammad was teaching us that we was brought here in the year 1555. So that marks 400 years, and I knew that prophecy had to fit us, serving the people for 400 years. And the only way, and the teachings that we were receiving made us realize God had came and gave us a knowledge to get ourselves up out of the condition that we was in. So this night,
1955.
yeah, but I was reared and born here.
And at that time, in 1955, were there any other people in Atlanta that you knew of who called themselves Muslims?
No, sir, no, sir.
As far as you know, that's the
The
first.
first time, in fact, I had never heard the word myself until no more than in a movie. And they was making mock of Islam in those movies, like we was, atheists, people who believed in some crazy God. And the word Muslim was never known probably around Atlanta. And I was a street man now, so I would have known. See, because I was a man that hung in the pool room, and anything, sport event come up, I was there. Big dance come up, I'm there. Famous artists come in town like Cab Calloway or Duke Ellington on the count bass, I was there. So I would have known if that word Muslim was available. I never heard it till this brother James came to town.
And what were some of the social activities that the Muslim community began to do as you developed it here in Atlanta?
Well, mainly we used to have bazaars, where it was live entertainment with the local musicians and the comedians and singers, and we show our wares to one another. Then we showed movies. We would rent films on the Prophet, the Muslim world, and the impressions of Mecca. We used to rent those kind of films, and we played them on the reel-to-reel thing because we didn't have the sophisticated stuff that we have today. But that's the way we would entertain ourselves, learning about Islam through films and saw how much unity was in Mecca at Hajj. So we showed these things to the early believers here in Atlanta during that time. And we entertained ourselves mainly with music, good music, clean music, and recitation of lessons that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had gave us, citation of the Quran, different things. And that's the way we lived our life. But mainly, we knew we were so far behind as a civilized people, so we knew we had a lot of making up to do. So studying was one of our number one things.
So was the community politically active at all in Atlanta?
Well, prior to the early 60s, politically, Martin Luther King, the civil rights movement was moving for equality and equal rights, but not for no, we may say, position in the city government. So eventually, in the 60s, let me start first. Once upon a time, we didn't have no black police. So the police, when they allowed the black men to become policemen, at that time it was still segregated now. I mean, bad. And the black policemen had to change their uniforms in the YMCA down on Butler Street. They was not allowed to arrest a white man in those days. And that went on for a long time until the civil rights movement kept moving and pushing and pushing. And Honorable Elijah Muhammad was pushing on another end for separation and everything. So eventually they began to accept the things that Dr. King and civil rights people was pushing for. So then black people began to run for city council and this until around 1970, I don't know exactly, Maynard Jackson ran for mayor here in Atlanta, and he won. Mm-hmm. And I have to say that that he wouldn't have won if it don't be for the awakening of rights on the civil rights hand, but we was a white-minded thinking people at that time. We didn't believe black folks could do anything, but I believe that through the sale of the Muhammad Speak newspaper, we changed the opinion of black people in Atlanta and around America. Buy black, unite with black, keep your money in the neighborhood.
That was the message.
Yeah, and yes, and do away with alcohol, tobacco, drugs. We was against all of those things, and liberal thinking people was against those things too. So we began to change the opinion of our people to get them to think black, and then the Black Power movement come on the scene. Black Power, Stokely Carmichael and the boys, Huey Newton, them, all that came about. So all of that pushed to bring about these changes we find in America. And I'm thankful that I was a part of a lot of this.